Hello Stampers, how are you today? I'm glad you could join me. We are going to make this lovely birthday card. We actually made this in one of my classes and just wanted to show you how you could make it as well. It does feature some designer series paper. I think the cork is retired too, but you may already have that in your stash. So I'm going to show you how to make this card, and of course, you know, you can use this layout with anything else that you might already have. We are going to use the Nature's Harvest stamp set. It is carrying over. It was in the fall 2021 mini catalog, and it is now going to be available through the end of the year, actually through at least July, through this next catalog. So if you don't have it, it is a great one. It's got lots of wonderful sentiments in it, and it's got dies, the harvest dies that go along with it. You can see that. Yeah, I keep my dies in the same container as the stamp set so that I don't forget that I have them. And actually, I also, oh look, I lost my stamp. Usually I put a little star on the end so that I remember that I've got dies in there. This is a cling stamp set, so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. The one that I made originally is actually Happy Birthday, and it's Let's Celebrate You. Those two sentiments are actually from the Hey Birthday Chick stamp set. Happy Birthday, it's really cute font. But today we're going to make one that's a thank you, using the thank you that's actually in the Nature's Harvest stamp set. My name is Linda Edwards. I'm with Crafty Heron Designs. You get a sneak peek of what's going on over here. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I hold card classes in my studio. If you're in the Greensboro, Georgia area, I'd love for you to join me. And if not, follow me, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. It's all Crafty Heron Designs. I try to get videos out to show you some of the cards that we make, you know, in class, or some other cards that I make. I just love to really make cards, and I love to teach you how to make them as well. So this video is going to be pretty specific. I'm going to go into more detail. Sometimes I kind of just speed through things, have a lot of things pre-cut, but today I'm going to show you everything. I realized that there were some people that are new to card making and weren't really as comfortable with all of the different pieces. So this video, just be forewarned, it may be a little bit longer. It's going to be a little more detailed. But you can always, you know, scroll through, fast forward through the parts that you already know. So let's get started. So for the card, we're going to start with a card base. It's cut at 8.5 by 5.5, and it is scored at 4 1/4. And you can get 2 card bases from a single piece of cardstock. So very economical. And then we have a base that's crumb cake, and it is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And then I got a piece of the cork paper. This paper is really fabulous. It was available in that last catalog. I'm sorry, I can't remember now whether it's carried over or not, but it is cut at 4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. You just need a scrap because we're gonna use the die from the Color and Contour die set to cut that out. I've got a piece of designer series paper. It's 5 inches by 2 inches. And this is just a scrap that we're going to stamp on for the flowers and the sentiment. So it's probably about 4 by 3 3/4, and of course an envelope. And I am using the Very Vanilla. You know, we have so many designer series paper that use the white, but I thought this really went well with the Very Vanilla, and I like to change it up a little bit. So so let's get started. So the first thing I always like to do is to fold my paper. This is the valley side up. I fold it so that the valley side is out. And, you know, sometimes, you know, when you score, it's a little off. So I'm just going to hold it down there and use my bone folder to make sure that it is really even. So here we go. And then I'm going to set that aside for later. So the next thing I like to do is start with the stamping. So this is my scrap that we're going to stamp on. we're gonna stamp using soft suede ink for the sentiment, and we're gonna use not StazOn, we're using the Memento Tuxedo Black ink for the flowers. Now the reason we're using the Memento is that we are going to use blends to color those flowers. And when you use the blends, you need to use the Memento ink so that it doesn't, so that they don't bleed. So, this pad is juicy because well, we'll see how it goes. I just refilled it. It was kind of a little dry. But we have 2 sides to every sheet of paper. So let's go ahead and see how that goes. Sometimes when the pads are really juicy, it's a little tricky. Oh no, that's fine. That is perfect. You can see where some of it was juicy, but it's not a problem at all. So this is a cling stamp. You can tell because it's got the foam already in it. So since it has the foam, you don't need any other kind of foam to work with it. So the other stamps are photopolymer, but we're using all, we're just using the cling stamps today. Okay, so here, this is my sentiment. I got a little bit of ink. See how I did that? I was too hard. So I'm gonna clean that off, because if I rock that at all that ink that was on the side is gonna get on my stamp. So I always like to tap, tap, tap very gently. There we go. See, I didn't get the ink all the way around. I was pressing too hard because I was talking. Now I'm gonna put this here. This is the die that I'm gonna use, and I just wanna make sure I have enough room there so that I can make my sentiment. I don't have to worry if it's straight or not because I've got the die I'm gonna cut it out with. So I'll just put that right there. Yes, perfect. Okay. Clean that one off, and I use the chamois to clean it off. I know it's kind of a mess right now. It's a well-used chamois. I like to keep my chamois in one of our stamp cases, and it's just a great tool to use, so to keep those stamps clean. All right, the next, again, I like to do all my stamping first. So next I'm gonna stamp the inside. Because I'm gonna make this as a thank you card, I am not going to put a sentiment or anything in it. I like to leave my thank you cards open so that I can just write something in there that's specific and pertinent to the recipient. So I am just going to do a little, oh shoot, you can't see that. I'm sorry, my camera seems to be sliding down on me. There we go. So that I just did that on the inside of the card. I'm also going to do the same thing on the envelope. So just a little bit here. And again, this is just a little wildflower that's in that set, that Nature's Harvest. Okay, so that is all my stamping. And I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to set this aside. And now we are going to color. Now, because I'm using the blends, they go through the paper pretty well. So I'm going to bring in some scrap to use to color with. I cut these down. They go farther. So this is just our scrap paper that you can purchase, and I just like to cut it down so that I get a little bit more out of it. So I am going to use these blends. I am using the cinnamon cider and old olive and mango melody. Now mango melody is retired, so if you don't have that one, I'm sorry you can't get it, but you can actually combine Daffodil Delight and Pumpkin Pie Light will give you a very similar look to the Mango Melody. So that's Daffodil Delight Dark and Pumpkin Pie Light. If you blend those together, you'll get a real similar color. I just like the Mango Melody because it's a really, really deep, dark color. So I'm going to start with that one. I am going to start with, so the blends have two, a thin tip and a thick tip. Let's see, I'm going to start with the dark because I like to do my shading first. Now, because there's so many lines on this, you really aren't going to see a lot of shading. So I'm not really too worried about that. I am really just kind of bringing this dark color just around the flower, the base of the flower there where it's close to the seed pod. And then I'm going to come in with the light, and you see when you're blending, you're kind of dragging the dark ink into the light ink, and it just makes it so that it blends. You don't get like a sharp line there where the two colors meet. So, and then I like to turn my paper rather than trying to twist my wrist in all kinds of different contortions. So just like that, again, kind of bringing that, going into the dark and bringing it out into the light area. These blends are so easy to work with. The fine tip is a little firmer, so you can press a little bit harder. You do have to be really gentle with the thicker tip because it's more like a paintbrush. And if you press too hard, you're going to ruin the tip of your blend. So be gentle with the paintbrush side, but with this one, it's not a problem with the thin side. And because this is a small area, I feel like I could use the thin side very easily. Okay, so now I'm going to use the cinnamon cider, and again, I am going to use the base. I'm using the thin tip again, and I'm just using the ink that Stampin' Up! Has given us. I'm going to do that one in green, so I'm just going to do these two here. I'm using those, the design as a guide for where I'm going to place my shading. So it's pretty, you don't have to think too hard. You don't have to know a lot about art in order to be successful. That's one of the things I love about these Stampin' Up! Products. I'm just using the guides that the artists who designed these stamps have put there for me. Okay, so now I'm going to do the stems. Again, because the stems are really narrow, I'm going to use the thin tip end. And up at the top here, I know that those would be shaded, right, because of the flower. So I'm doing the dark first in the areas that would be shaded. So there would be shaded by that leaf. Let's see, those would not be shaded. There would be a little shading there because the leaf that's in front of it, there would be a little shading, a little shadow there. And then that's about that. And so now I'm going to go to the veins of the leaf, and I'm going to just do a little coloring with this dark marker. Remember, I've got the dark one, so I'm kind of doing some accents with the to where the shadows would be. And now I'm going to come in and blend it with the light color, and I'm drawing down that ink. So, if you don't have blends, if you've just got the Stampin' Right markers, you could certainly use those as well, especially in this setting, because there isn't really a lot of shading that you're doing anyway. So I think the Stampin' Right markers would work just fine. You can also use a blender pen. I don't know if you've ever tried that, but you can just get the blender pen. If you're just getting started, get the blender pen, and you just put the tip of the blender pen in an ink pad, and it will pick up the ink. The blender pen is it's all alcohol in the blender pen, kind of like I guess like a watercolor marker, but it's alcohol based. And you can also color using all of your, any inks that you currently own. So that's a great way to get started. That's how I got started. Before I used the blends, I played around with that blender pen first. And even now, if there's a color that I don't have and I want to use the blends, do some blending, I can use that blender pen to do that. So there we go. that is all done. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, and I think really, really pretty. So let's see, all of our stamping, all of our coloring is done. Let's do our cutting. So I'm gonna bring in the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and it does tell us right on the machine what to use for our sandwich. So the first thing I'm gonna do is use, sorry, I forgot that I have embossing to do. So I'm using the base plate, and I'm gonna use the 3D embossing folder. So that means I'm gonna need this gray, this number 4 plate. So I'm just gonna put the crumb cake in the bark embossing folder. And I like to mark my folders if they're 3D or not. You can tell pretty much, but sometimes, I don't know, I just like to have it showing so that you know that it's a 3D. So that. You know what, I think my camera is syncing, so I'm gonna raise it up. So I'm gonna warn you right now, it's gonna move. So if you tend to get dizzy, maybe it's there. Okay. Okay. I think that's better. I think you can see better. I'm so sorry about that. I'm having some trouble with my wrist, and so it's been hard for me to get things tight. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to do some die cutting, and so the sandwich for the die is the base plate number 1. See where it says 2, 1, 2, and 2 of the number 3 plates. So base plate number 1. Number 2 is the die cutting adapter, and then a regular plate, and which is a number 3 plate, and then a second plate. So one of the tricks when you're embossing is if you've got a side that's really linear, you want to angle your cut. It'll go through a lot more smoothly if you put it through on an angle. All right, here we go. And this fork goes through very easily. It's nice and thin and pliable. And you know, if you don't have this color and contour dies, just cut it as a rectangle. It works just as well as a rectangle. All right, so now a little bit more die cutting. This is the die that comes with the set, the harvest dies. And I don't know if you saw that, it was kind of bowed up a little bit. Again, we use this in class, so it's gotten a lot of use. That'll happen sometimes. I just bent it a little bit in the other direction, very gently. And I think I'm gonna go ahead, because it's kind of wiggly on me, I'm gonna go ahead and use this tape. It's like a painter's tape. It's great. I've already kind of used it a few times, so it's not super, super sticky, although it's really not a problem, even if it is. And that'll hold that die in place. And to line it up, I'm really looking at the stems and the edges there so that I get it lined up. Through, I think one time is enough. Some of the thinner dies, you need to go through more than once, but as you can see, that's fine. So I'm gonna take that apart, because I'm also going to use that on for my sentiment. So let's see, do I need the tape on this one? Yeah, I don't think so. That one seems to be holding well. So now I'm just looking to see if it's centered up and down, side to side. Again, I'm kind of angling it a little bit so it just goes through the cut and emboss machine a little bit easier. And that's the end of that. So again, if you don't have the dies, You could fussy cut the flower. You certainly don't need to have the dies. You could cut around it. It would be a little trickier. Or you could just stamp the flower on a piece of paper and color it in and then use it that way. So you don't have to have the dies to make this card. Use what you have in your stash. That's always the best way to do it. Okay, so let's get started. So we've got all of our pieces. Let's bring them all back here. And so the first thing I'm going to do is adhere the card, the designer series paper to the base. Let's see. So I have not designer series, the cardstock. That's the embossed layer. I have two sides to the embossed layer. I think I'm using the deep. No, I want the embossed side. Okay. You decide. You look at it and you decide which side you want to attach, but you do want to use liquid glue on this. Oh, see, look at that. I made a little mess there. Not to worry. I'll show you how to clean it up. You do want to use liquid glue because of the raised bumpy edges. The glue will really adhere much more evenly. Okay. So that I'm using my cleaner to clean that sticky stuff off my hand. If there's still some sticky here, it feels fine, but I want to show you. If you get some glue that oozes out, this is a great little tool. It's an adhesive remover eraser. You can get it on Amazon, and it'll pick up any sticky stuff. The other thing you can do is just take a little powder, if you have baby powder, or if you have a little cornstarch, and just de-stickify. If you put that on that layer, it will prevent it from sticking. So, okay. So the next layer we've got is our designer series paper, and you could certainly use the other side if you wanted. It would be a little more monochromatic. That would be lovely as well. But I like the yellow, a little more color. So I'm going to do it this way. That's why I chose to do it that way. And our designer series paper, our catalog always tells you what colors are in that designer series paper. So that's how I chose the colors to use in this, the flower, because I wanted it to coordinate. And that's one of the things I love about Stampin' Up! Is it always, all the colors coordinate. There's no guesswork on, what color should I use? Is it going to work well? Is it going to look good together? It all coordinates. Okay, so now I've got this cork layer, and I'm going to put that one up on dimensionals. So attach those dimensionals, those double-sided. They've got foam in the middle. They're sticky on both sides. And let's see, that's going to go right about... I'm just centering that right there. All right. Now, if you're sending a card through the mail, you don't want to do too many layers of dimensionals, but this will be fine. I am going to put a few dimensionals on here. I'm only going to do, see how I'm kind of curling that, those two. I'm going to curl that one, this one. So I'm going to attach this one with a glue dot. I'm going to curl that one and put just a little, well, I don't really even need to attach it, but I am going to attach this one. But because we're attaching it with cork, maybe I could use liquid glue. Let's use the liquid glue. But because I'm curling this one, I'm not going to put any liquid glue under that side. I'm only going to do it under this one. That way it'll come up a little bit off the paper. And again, it gives it a little bit of dimension. And, it doesn't really need to be adhered all the way down. It will stick, it will hold for you. And then I can actually hold it by there. And I think I want it on a little bit of an angle. At least that guy on a little bit of an angle. So there we go. Just hold that down for a minute so that that liquid glue adheres onto the cork. All right, so now I have my happy birthday. I am going to raise, actually, the happy birthday was on the original card. The thank you is on this one. I am going to go ahead and use some more dimensionals on this. So it's raised up a little bit away from the flowers. And yeah, that's good. I want it over there and there. And then I'm going to add, this is the linen thread. I'm going to do a double bow. So what I'm going to do is kind of just double it. I don't think I need that much. About that much. And for this one, I'm going to use I don't even need that much. I'm going to use the bunny ears technique. So make 2 little bunny ears, and then you just basically bring one of the bunny ears over the other and pull them tight. And then, there we go. And then you can kind of fiddle with it a little bit to get it the length that you want. And of course, we'll cut off the ends. I don't want it too big, but I do want it to show, kind of be down there, maybe just a little bit smaller. And then, you just got to fiddle with it a little bit. And then take my scissors, cut off the ends, and I can cut them more after I attach it, kind of see how it's going to hold. So I am going to use a glue dot to attach that together. Adhere the linen thread to the card. I'm picking this up with my take your pick tool, and see how I'm rotating it, because I want it to be a little bit smaller so it fits underneath this knot. So I peel it off. I don't want that glue dot to be showing, because I don't want it to stick, when I put the card in the envelope. I don't want the glue dot to stick to it. So there we go. And then you can kind of play around a little bit with that. I think I'm going to cut that one there, cut that one there. All right. And I love these bronze metallic dots. So we are going to add some of those as well. Let's see, I'm going to use the other end of my take your pick tool and just kind of put that there. I always like to add these embellishments in sets of 3. So 1, 2, let's see, do I want a big one or a small one? I think I'll use a small one. And right there. So there you go. There you have it. Thank you. Nice little card. And there's the envelope. And that's it. So I hope you liked the card today. I hope you maybe learned something or were reminded of something that maybe you didn't know. I will be back again with more videos, and would love for you to, if you enjoyed the video, if you learned something, if you give me a like or a thumbs up, I would appreciate it. If you comment, that helps my business. And thank you for coming. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and that you enjoy paper crafting. I hope I've inspired you to do something creative today. Bye for now.